All right, it's finally out. The first three chapters are up on Webtoon. Please go ahead and check it out. Pretty excited. Had a lot of fun doing it. In this video, I'm kind of just going to talk about it real quick, and then I have a couple tips, tricks, and then stuff I would have done differently when I was making these chapters. So first things first, the kind of spiel about 100 years later, without any spoilers, obviously. It's kind of set in a fantasy world. And I really kind of don't know what kind of topics I'm going to touch because there's a lot I could do. But I think I'm going to try to accelerate the plot as much as possible because I have this really big world planned, but I also kind of want to have a finished comic that's fairly long, but not like crazy long. But the main character is named Silas. He's kind of going to be an anti-hero. And there's going to be magic involved, and it's kind of set in a futuristic sci-fi world, if that makes sense. I would say it's kind of modern esque, but that's also has fantasy elements. And I plan to update a new chapter, about 20 to 30 panels every week, every Thursday night at 8 p.m. EST. So if you are interested, please check it out. Now onto the tips and stuff I would have done differently. I might make a video for all of these different things because there was a couple of good ones that I never really thought about, I guess. And I've been making comics for quite a while, but I guess this is kind of like one of the first long running ones I've done. And I guess I would have never really thought about it until I've had done it. And that is I was drawing chapter 5, one of the newest chapters I'm working on, and I just, for the life of me, I could not draw the main character's face properly. Like, it looked weird in comparison to other panels. And I've always struggled with that, kind of making your characters look consistent panel to panel. So it was kind of just disappointing because I was like, I guess I just need to get better at art. No. I mean, well, yeah, you need to get better at art. I need to get better at art. But what you can do is, if you think about it, you've drawn your character a lot of different times. And, well, first off, you should be able to draw them pretty well. But if you can't, you have a plethora of references, and even one step further, you don't even have to use it as a reference. You can literally just drag it in there and then almost trace over it because it's not really copying if you're copying your own work, right? So I don't know why I'd never really thought about that, and I understand if you did that for like if you used your character reference sheets and then kind of did that for everything, and I know you can't really do that for every single pose. But like the basic profile and like 3/4 profile, it gets you very, very far in making a comic. So I wish I would have known to do that more because I definitely would have made more character sheets. I only made a couple for like the main characters. And I wish I would have known to kind of think to use them in the first couple chapters because I didn't really do that until like chapter 4 or 5. And this may sound like complete common sense. But I just didn't think about it. I guess I was like, I just have to draw every character every time, every single panel. And that's it. That's how it is. But that's not. Don't do that. That's not how it is. You can do that if you want to be a purist, I guess. But if you're going to be making a weekly comic with 20 to 30 panels while also working, you should probably use a little bit of shortcuts whenever you have the option to do that. Another shortcut I learned, again, probably a little bit later than I should have, is I definitely had an issue with my panels were very text heavy, and I tried to spread them out as much as I could, but there was just so much text the character was saying, and I don't know if that has anything to do with my writing style or what. Maybe that's something I could possibly fix, but there's another way to fix it. So say like when you introduce a character or they're being introduced like into the scene, I would just have them show up and then have them say their spiel. That'd be like one panel. Like that's dumb. So what you can do is basically what I would do, what I have been doing, is I'll draw their panel, and then the first panel, it will kind of be like a truncated version, like it'll be showing like their torso or like their hands or something. And then they'll say something first, like their intro, whatever. And then the next panel is the full version of that panel. With the more of a text. So you literally get another panel and you get to split up your text. So it's like a win-win situation. And also like for one scene, there's all these people at a party. And I was thinking every time they kind of went back and forth with each other, I would have to draw them at different angles, different panels. And that might make for like intriguing read. kind of keep you on your toes. Um, but what I did is kind of just I copied a lot of them, and then sometimes I would draw maybe slightly different expressions on them, or kind of move them to look like different panels. And for the most part, I didn't even notice. So I doubt the reader who's kind of flinging through it won't really notice either. So those are kind of like the tricks I learned and kind of wish I would have done when making the comic. Um, Here's some like tips that actually helped me make the first chapter, because chapter one, episode one, it's actually 70 panels, and that's like the longest chapter I've ever done ever on anything. My previous record was like 35, 40. So this kind of beat it by a big margin, because this is kind of like a good number to hit for like kind of like a weekly comic series. I know a lot do a lot less, but like definitely like a first chapter, 70 panels is kind of maybe on even on the lower end for some comics. But it was just kind of something I wanted to be able to do. And how I was able to get through it is kind of there would be panels at times where I would draw something and I was just not feeling it, and I was just like, I don't like this. It's not a good representation of my work. All that. I have to redraw it. Well, don't just move on. You need to kind of get through this, especially when you're starting out, like me, like myself. I'm not going to have hundreds of thousands of readers going to be reading it. Maybe eventually, but not right now. And a lot of people like to see your growth as an artist too. So it's okay to have bad art in the first chapters, I guess, I don't know, it's a double-edged sword maybe, if that, I don't know if that's the best way to explain it, because really you should be like, oh, my first chapter, it should be my showcase of my best art. So it's kind of each their own. What you want to accomplish. If you're looking to make like the most badass, condensed, beautiful series ever, go for that. Do that. But for me, I'm kind of just looking for, I want to finish a series. I want to get as many chapters as I can out. I want to draw as many panels as I can to make it like a full, succinct story. So I kind of just would tell myself that every time I would draw a panel and I was just really feeling it, I was like, just got to move on, and then just kind of apply that what I was feeling to the next panel, and try to make that as good as I can. So those are tips and tricks that I use to get the first couple of chapters out. I also have a buffer because that was probably the one big advice I would always hear people complain about is they didn't have a buffer. They would be strapped, for week to week to get it out on the deadline. No, I have a 2-chapter buffer, and I'm actually looking to up it even still. So that's kind of good, I guess. And with all these tips and tricks, I'm actually going to be able to make a lot longer chapters a lot quicker than I actually initially thought. Like an example, chapter 5, I had planned it to be 20 panels, and I had planned it to take me a little over a week to finish. And with all these tips and tricks, I was able to make about 28 panels in about 5 days. So I don't know if it's more of me getting faster, but I definitely want to credit all these tips and tricks to doing all of that. There's another one that I might even make a whole different video about, and it's just kind of about the whole comic making process. It's kind of when I think for the longest time that I've made comics, what I would do is always have a drawing pad, like pen and paper, and I would just write everything there, on my chicken scratch, and kind of do like stick figures on kind of to show the kind of like have the panel layout and kind of imagine the panels and what they would look like. And I've always done that. I thought that's the best way to panel out your comics. And for some people, that might be a really good way to do it. But I've kind of learned the best way for me to do it is kind of actually making screenplay. So I actually just wrote down on text, and that allows me to like edit a lot more than I have ever had. Because the first couple chapters, I think the wording and like the pacing was all kind of just weird, because I was kind of just like remembering what I would wrote in my chicken scratch, because I couldn't be able to read it all because I couldn't jam it all into like one panel. So then like I was kind of just regurgitating it, how what I thought it or remembered what it was like, and it would kind of always just be weird. But now with writing a little screenplay, I can kind of spend a little bit more time on it. It's in the digital format, which I prefer to. So I guess I don't know really why I thought of not doing this until just now. But I'm glad I switched, and I would recommend anyone who does either or to kind of try out the other one to see if they might like that better. Because I'm sure there's people who might do script format and might find that the other way kind of helps them, seeing it more visually if they're more, of a doodler or something where they can actually get out a good thumbnail, whereas me, I'm not really like that. I'm very, I have to see, like, I see in my head. I don't really need a thumbnail, and I need to worry more about the words being spoken rather than the picture. But that's all I have for this video. I'm excited to continue working on this. I really have low expectations for the series. It's kind of like a really personal series to me. Not so much like the story. It's actually a story I thought about. Just I was being edgy, and I was like, "Oh, wouldn't this idea be cool?" And let's do it. So it's kind of like a practice series. In the fact that like I could have like 10 people read it, and that would be fine with me. Um, and I kind of just want to grow as a writer while creating this series. So my next series, I can definitely focus on it a lot more and use all the tips and tricks I learned in making the series, because I've done 5 chapters and I've already learned so much, and my growth has been crazy. So I would like to see if I just continue doing this for even 3 to 4 years, um, what my growth is going to be like and what kind of comic I'm going to be able to put out after that. So I mean, I would like it to get popular. I think everyone wants that, but I'm also pretty realistic. I've been around on the interwebs for a while, so I kind of know that that's not always going to happen. I might start researching some marketing stuff. So if anyone's kind of interested in that, let me know. So we can kind of compare notes, or I'll make another video kind of delving into that more. Because that'd probably be something I would need to be start looking forward to, or start looking into, if I want to make this kind of my career. But we'll see. Thank you all for watching. Please go check it out, and I'll see you guys next time.